1, 2, 3, 4. Those are numbers, but you already knew that. If you want to know what number you're going to pay each month for your car, use Kelly Blue Book My Wallet on Auto Trader. They're really good at numbers. Auto Trader.
Yes! Oh! 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 Oh, God. Oh. I'll have what she's having.
And hello and welcome to Unequal Sequel. My name is Dave and I'm one of the two hosts of this new and riveting podcast.
Ooh, and I'm Rich and I'm the other host of this new and riveting podcast. Think of me as Neo to Dave's Trinity. I've got a slightly greying beard and he looks surprisingly good for his age.
I thought it was going to be something about me being in leather, but okay. The premise of Unequal Sequel is very simple. We ask their guests for their best ever sequel, worst ever sequel, and finally their dream sequel.
And of course, we quite often drift off and talk about other things, movies, life in general, the state of the nation, everything.
We do spoil movies, but most of the time these movies are quite old. But if you don't want to know about one of the films we mentioned or talking about, just skip that section and move along, and it will be fine. On today's episode, we are joined by Josh Weller.
Josh Weller is a brilliant upcoming young comedian. He is incredibly funny. Hopefully you've managed to catch some of his stuff. He does really, really funny little videos online where he beatbox various people.
We're very excited to sit down with Josh and talk all things sequels with him.
These are Josh Weller's Unequal Sequels. Enjoy.
What was the first sequel you got excited about?
Ghostbusters 2, obviously.
Obviously, yeah. Why? How old were you? Yeah. Tell us everything.
I mean, Ghostbusters 2 is just, I don't really know. It was always in my life, you know? As soon as I started watching films, that it was the one that was, it just kind of existed. I had for that early part of my life, I was in Malaysia.
Nice.
And my grandparents would send us VHS tapes, and we would never know what was going to be on it. And some of it would be really, really good stuff, and then other months we'd just get absolute crap. And the Ghostbusters 2 was the first sequel, and I was like, because I knew Ghostbusters just so through and through.
Yeah. And
I also think I recognized, I recognized that it was all the same cast, which obviously not all sequels have that. And I also the music, and obviously so I think subconsciously you can kind of feel that it's the same director. And I think that I really responded to it. And I also the ooze as well, it's a movie with pink goo.
Yeah.
So
the ooze.
Yeah. So when you're the magnotheric mood slime or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So that was a big film, but obviously it's not as good as the first one, obviously.
Controversial.
Rich, I agree with you. How old were you?
I think I was 5.
5.
Yeah, it's not as good, but it is a brilliant sequel.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There are so many people that don't like it, and they're all wrong.
I completely agree with that.
I don't trust those people. I don't see anything wrong with Ghostbusters 2. It takes the characters, you learn more about them. It's just as fun as the first one. I loved when I was little the walk-in Statue of Liberty with the music. That was brilliant. Was there a big gap between seeing the first one and the second one, or was it pretty?
No, I think they were pretty close together because I wasn't born when the first one came out. I was just born when the second one came out, so I didn't see either of them till the early 90s.
Yeah. Oh wow. So you had to wait a little bit.
Yeah, that one. Also, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 and 3 were really good ones for me as well.
Is the third one when they go to Japan?
Yeah, in retrospect, not aged great.
I don't think I ever really remember seeing it. I remember going to see that was one of the first cinema trips for me, going to see the first Turtles, but I don't really remember the other two. And sadly, no one's picked them yet, so I can't enjoy them.
Do you know what? I mean, this is the viewers won't be able to see this, but I do actually have the 3 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3
Japanese
Michelangelo, where he's in samurai costume.
Now, is that a recent buy, or is that something from your childhood?
That's all. They're all from my childhood. The only recent ones I have, so I have all my Ninja Turtles and Ghostbusters and stuff. The only recent ones is I lost my my Ghostbusters Winston.
Right.
So I bought him, and he's still in the box. Yeah, which is pretty cool. And then the other only recent purchase is I have like a in the box Jean-Luc Picard's Next Gen.
Nice.
But are you guys are you guys Star Trek fans?
I can appreciate Star Trek.
So there's a very famous Star Trek episode, Next Generation episode called what's it called? Jalad, is that what it's called? It's an episode where Picard and a captain are thrown onto a planet together, and they both speak different languages, and Picard has to learn Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. That's what it's called.
Right.
Darmok and Jalad. And in that episode, it's the first episode where he wears a velvet coat that's the same. You know, he has the red thing.
Yeah.
The captain's.
Yeah.
But for some reason in this episode, it's a coat.
Oh, right.
And apparently Patrick Stewart was like, he should have some casual attire. And they were like, all right, season 5, do what you want. And the toy is that one.
Oh, nice.
So I was like,
Nice.
it's so nerdy. It's so...
I love it when they take a toy and they make it of a very specific bit of the show.
It's so ridiculously specific.
Did you go hunting for that toy?
I was just looking on eBay. I'm not a big collector of that stuff.
Yeah.
I just have a few from my childhood, and then I bought 2 new ones. But I'm a really bad drunk eBay person.
Yeah.
Like I bought when I did my first job on TV and got like my first like paycheck that was like from comedy. My mum was like, "Hey, you should absolutely." So I put that aside for a rainy day, and I was like, yeah, she's right. And then I had a bottle of white wine, and I bought a cast and crew 1998 Star Trek Voyager bomber jacket.
Hey, there have been way worse drunk eBay purchases than that.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. And it's the Star Trek convention this month, like next weekend. So I get to wear it for the first time.
For the first time.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Brilliant.
Everyone's going to be so jealous of you, Josh.
I know. Finally. Take that, school
Yeah, you're
bullies.
right. That is signed. But don't let people touch you, because then they might rub off the
No,
the
I'm not.
Obviously, that'd be mental.
Yeah, they're dirty, greasy fingers on my stitched Voyager jacket. I'll tweet you a picture of it when this comes
please,
out.
because I want to sit up.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's like. Does it fit though?
Oh yeah, it's a perfect fit.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So lucky.
Because I would buy something like that
so
and then find
good.
out it'd be too small. But no, it's fine. It's fine. It's cool. I've got like a Home Alone 2 bobble hat that I had since I bought the box set. When Home Alone 2 came out, it had a hat and the VHS of the film, and I still try and get the hat on, and I swear it still fits. But it doesn't.
I think Home Alone 2 is up there, by the way.
Yeah.
As a pretty close to the thing that Ghostbusters does that Home Alone 2 doesn't do is Ghostbusters doesn't try to recreate a sort of linear narrative that's the same, whereas Home Alone 2 maybe suffers because they try so hard to recreate all those moments.
But better.
But the plot's really good. The casting's amazing.
Yeah.
Is it Tim Curry?
Tim Curry.
That
whole
It's
scene.
just unbelievable.
The whole hotel stuff makes me absolutely wet
A limousine and a pizza.
Yeah.
God.
Get down on your knees and tell me that you love me. And then
I love you.
Yeah.
It's so good.
it's so good.
You gotta do better. Little Mo with the gimpy leg, bony bear, Cliff.
He's lying.
Yeah.
I never. Oh, it's so good. And I love when Harry gets hit by bricks. Honestly, it makes me wet myself every year.
Oh man, I wonder how many, because statistically, some kid must have died.
Yeah. Or at least killed a parent or something.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting to come home from work one day, and my little boy has set up these traps for me because he absolutely loves Home Alone, and he just completely wets himself when he sees anyone getting hit in the nuts.
Yeah,
pretty much. So I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to open the front door, and a big can of paint's going to smack me in the face.
It's great physical comedy.
I've been trying to do some stand up about the new Home Alone that's about to come out.
Yeah.
And the thing is like Aisling B's really funny, Rob Delaney's really funny. Like more power to those guys. And Who's the other one that's in it? There's some really good.
Kimmy Schmidt woman, what's her name? Ellie Kemper.
Yeah. And then the guy from Crashing, whose name I always forget. He's like, it's an amazing cast. But I was thinking, like, I was just watching the trailer and I was like, it is astonishing that in 2021 they were like, all white cast again, and they were like, yeah, absolutely, all white cast. But then I thought about it, and I was like, there's no way to make anyone in that film black and have it come off well. You can't. There's no way. You can't make the absent parents.
Yeah, you're right.
You can't make the burglars. You can't. There's no one. The old man who walks along the street. No, there's no one like who would work in that film. And I think it's going to be a really interesting because it's straight to Disney
Plus, yeah.
Plus, is that right?
It's coming soon as well.
But it's not Premier Access, is it? It's just out.
Yeah.
It's going to be... I'm definitely going to watch it.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah. 100% going to watch it.
I like all the people involved. Like you said, they all look funny. I don't understand Ashley's accent. I know she's commented it on Instagram or something, but I don't think it confuses me because she's got such a lovely Irish accent. Why can't she just be Irish?
I mean, I wouldn't want to wager a guess, but it seems like maybe it was just they were like, she's English.
Yeah.
And if she can do an English accent. I think the English accent was really good.
It's mixed. But we won't go into it. I haven't seen the film, so I can't comment on it. It's going to be brilliant. I love every film.
Don't ruin our chances of getting Ashley B on this podcast, Dave.
You can cut this bit, it's fine. There's some really good... there's some really good... they're not sequels, but there's some really good shit movies on the Hallmark Channel at Christmas. Like Christmas. There's one called The Christmas Train with Danny Glover. You have to watch it.
I'm going to watch it. I'm definitely going to watch it.
One, my missus will watch these because she loves them. And two, I work in an industry, Josh, where I have to get films ready for online channels. So I've been working on Hallmark Christmas shit for literally 6 months
Amazing.
now. I don't.
Amazing.
It's not. It drives me mental. How many dogs and puppies and birds and shit or has a shit Christmas? Let's move on. Let's go somewhere positive. What is your favourite ever sequel?
Just so you know, I went back and forth on this for quite a while, trying to figure out what I thought the best sequel was. Right?
Yeah.
And I actually wrote down a list here so I had Toy Story 2, Paddington 2, Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, Star Trek First Contact, and I went with Star Trek Beyond because I don't think it gets enough praise for being a brilliant Star Trek movie.
Yeah.
And I think that taking anything, regardless of it being a movie that I think anyone, even if you don't like Star Trek, you can watch. It's Idris Elba, Simon Pegg, Chris Pine, like Zachary Quinto. Like the direction's brilliant. You can enjoy that film with absolutely no understanding of Star Trek.
Yeah,
it's just a good sci-fi film. But I think it's so challenging to take something that's made for TV and put it into a 90-minute story. And I think that Simon Pegg like absolutely nailed, because it's like a long episode of Star Trek, and it has all the stuff and it fits in with that universe that they made for those new movies. And I think I like any movie really that has like an analog way of defeating the digital bad guys.
Yeah.
You know, like whenever there's a movie where it's like the simple thing that they mentioned at the very beginning of the movie that you've forgotten about is the thing that takes them down. Like or almost like the one bullet in the barrel or the two bullets in Die Hard.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's the sellotape that saves him, saves Christmas, you know? And I think that Beastie Boys, the way they throw that Beastie Boys song into the end of Star Trek Beyond, it's just, it's impossible to not be like amped when they do that.
It's fucking brilliant. Yeah. But why did they ruin that with that bit in the trailer? Why couldn't they just left that in the film as a surprise? I don't know if you've seen.
Luckily I didn't see the trailer.
They completely they focused the whole trailer about that one bit. It was awful.
And they used sabotage.
Yeah.
Oh, the dickheads.
That's
really stupid. Because it was Simon Pegg wrote it as a different song, and I think it was something a lot more comical.
Oh right.
And then obviously because they'd Easter egged like Beastie Boys in the other two films.
Yeah.
But I like everything about it. I like the characters that they add. Sophia, whatever her name is, she's like brilliant as that jailer alien. Idris Elba's such a good bad guy as well.
Such a good bad guy. He really is.
And he's a bad guy who was part of Starfleet, which just even tastier, you know?
Yeah, bit of meat on it.
And like a bad guy whose means are justified, like Hans Gruber or like Ed Harris in The Rock, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Or Thanos.
when they were part of it. Yeah. Or like any part of a machine that chewed someone up and spat them out, and now they're out for like a moral vengeance.
Yeah.
It's always a good setup, and I think that Ed Harris is that he's phenomenal as the bad guy in The Rock.
He's great now.
Because all he wants to do is get the victims paid. Like it's like you're like yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, let's blow up San Francisco.
Yeah, absolutely. Bomb San Francisco. Go for it. Yeah.
I'm not going to miss that place. I've got to ask about how amped you were for Star Trek Beyond, because it came after, which is probably one of the most disappointing films, which was Into Darkness. Are you a fan of that film?
Into Darkness, no.
No Trekkie is it apparently.
And also, it doesn't really fit with that. This is super nerdy for anyone listening who's not a Star Trek fan, but essentially, the TV show and the movie franchise are owned by different companies. So to reboot the series, they had to make a different timeline, right? So they blew up Romulus, which is a planet that goes supernova or nebula or something like that. And what that does is, in the original film, Kirk had his dad, and in the new films he doesn't, right? Essentially that's sort of what sets up the films. His dad dies saving Romulans or something like that. And for that reason, like, it's just weird that why is Khan there? Like, he wouldn't be it. Like, it doesn't make any. No, they've just no, and you can't. And it's the kind of franchise where you can't get. You can do it in a Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Where you go, let's just invent a dinosaur and pretend that's the story for the film. Like, you can get away with it. Like, but in a thing like that where the fans are just so into the mythology and the universe, like. Star Trek is the thing that kind of created the MCU. The idea of like this ongoing world
and a fan base maybe as well. I can't remember much before. They're passionate.
And the whole thing about Benedict Cumberbatch being Khan in Into Darkness means absolutely nothing to anybody apart from the people watching.
The way he drops that
We've
line.
We've talked about this before. Yeah, he drops his. It just says, "My name is Khan," and everyone's like. Yeah, and
yeah.
Great.
And they recreate the scene as well, where like Spock dies and he puts his hand, and it's just like they had such a good thing going with that first movie. And to be fair, they learned their lesson with the third movie. But to answer your question, no, I was not excited. In fact, it took me a good month to go and see Beyond.
Really?
Cinema, I think, or maybe a couple of weeks. Yeah. I was like, nah, not doing it. And then I listened to Simon Pegg on a podcast, and I just was like, he's a fan. A great movie here.
Yeah.
I'm such a big fan of him anyway. So
yeah.
Who isn't?
Well, he's my dress up every year for my dress up for Halloween. Is Simon Pegg and
for Sean?
Sean, yeah, it's easy. Put a white shirt, red tie, bit of blood, cricket bat. Done.
Yeah. You've got red on you.
For every ginger person out there, that is the best. It's like, thank you, Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg. It's easy. It's really easy. So you're in the cinema. You're sitting down for Star Trek Beyond. It starts. Is it good feeling straight away? Like, okay, I'll give this a go. Or
it's one of those films that I don't really have. I've got two friends who like Star Trek, and but not on the level that I do, and. It was one of those ones that I went to on my own, which is a really nice thing. In your 30s, I think I was in my 20s when that film came out, but like
we all go to cinemas on our own. We love it.
Yeah, and it's something that. But there's moments in that where I was like, huh? Like looking to the side, like, oh, they just referenced something from a thing, and there's no one there.
Look at the old ship. Look at the old ship.
Yeah. But then I watched the first episode of Picard on my own and was just crying at the first scene. Like,
I haven't watched that yet.
No, I haven't seen it either.
Oh, is there? It's you have to be really deep into Next Gen to really like it. Yeah,
because I watched the first season of Discovery and I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, I like Discovery,
and I haven't got through the second season, so I can't be enjoying that much. And I've been watching it for like 2 years now.
I've tried to do season 3, and like I'm a big Star Trek fan, and like, I love that show.
Yeah.
And I would give 5 years off my life to be in that show. And I think Star Trek Discovery it's a different type of Star Trek. And a big Star Trek fan would argue that the reason that they would argue that it's people showing a disregard to like the franchise in a sense, but it's not episodic, which is what Star Trek is. It's episodic television. Here's the problem. Oh God, we're all going to die. Everything's fine. And that's how it goes. And I think with Discovery that it has this arc every year and you're like, okay, great. Just go to a planet and find some weird lizards, mate with them, and then hit the reset button. That's all you need to do. And so but then the Orville is so good, which is Seth MacFarlane's like kind of Star Trek rip-off show, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And it's directed by Jonathan Frakes, and it has all the cast of Star Trek in it, and like it's really, really good.
Yeah. In Star Trek Beyond, what's your favourite scene? And it's not the motorbike scene, is it?
No, that's very funny though. It's so weird that that's the one bit of the movie that's so blatantly green screen.
Yeah.
As well. You're like, that must have been done they must have run out of time or something, because it looks like a 1930s car with the screen behind it with the trees moving. You're like, really, guys? Yeah. My favorite scene is when they give Uhura the Spock's given her that like necklace that's a rare Vulcan rock, and they're like, you gave your girlfriend a tracking device. That bit, I love the comedy of that. And I also love the scene where the ship, the old Enterprise ship, the old Starfleet ship that they find that they fly back into the Alpha Quadrant or whatever. I love that bit when they have to hit terminal velocity, and they do, and there's the two looks that the pilots give each other, because they've both been like, yeah, we'll be fine, and then there's this look afterwards with this great comic payoff where they're like, thank fuck that worked.
Yeah, I think there's some good payoffs in this one. Rich, do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I really do. I really enjoy it. I love the fact that it's gone from a bromance between kind of Kirk and Spock to almost a bromance between Spock and McCoy instead.
Yeah. The Bones character is like, he's so good.
Yeah,
he really is.
I'd like to see them do another one. I don't think they should. I think they should probably just leave it. But
I think they are doing another one, aren't they? I think there's.
I know it was in the works, and I know that Tarantino has been writing one.
Yeah, I'm not sure that one's gonna happen.
I mean, I would give that would be
mental, isn't it?
And he's basing it on. There's an season in episode 3 of Next Generation called Yesterday's Enterprise, which is about how there's a shift in the space-time. This is so nerdy, and basically the war with the Klingons never ended,
right?
And the only person who knows on the ship is Whoopi Goldberg, and that's the one that Tarantino is writing an idea for.
Yeah, because there was rumours that they were going to bring Hemsworth back, but he was asking for like too much money or something again, or I don't know if that would work, bringing him and doing more time travel.
No, I just think it's such a lazy construct in sci-fi.
You've done it once. Stop playing it. You've made it work once. That was good enough. But if you bring it back again, you know.
Like the whole new season of Picard is set now, which is like, okay, right. COVID. All right, we get it. You filmed it in COVID. Well done. You know.
So if they did it another one, would you have another reboot, or would you like some original stories with, I don't know, if they go Pike or a completely new character? Would you be interested in that?
I would be more interested in a either whatever Tarantino wants to do. I would go and see, because I just think even if they make it a 15 or a 12 and it's sort of Tarantino's first foray away from being Quentin Tarantino, I would watch that. But any new story, and I think that's what Beyond did really well. It just it was a new story, and it made the life of it. And you know, Spock, Leonard Nimoy was dead, so he was dead in the film, and like, you know, and I liked all of it. Yeah, I would go down that road. I would like to see Simon Pegg write it, but
I'm sure he would love to. But what is your most disappointing sequel? What's one that you've left the cinema like, that wasn't as good as you thought it was going to be?
Die Hard 5.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Die Hard 5.
Yeah. It's horrible, isn't it?
That's a great shout.
I honestly thought, I don't know, it just the naivety of youth. I honestly just thought, maybe they've learned their lesson, Kevin Smith. And no, I mean, Die Hard 5 was like, it wasn't just worse than Die Hard 4. It kind of broke my heart because it just fundamentally misunderstood what made John McClane great. And like the idea that he's now just this superhero, like crashing a helicopter into a building and like running out with his son and high-fiving and punching a woman in the face. Like I was just like, what are you? This is just stupid. You're stupid, Bruce Willis. Yeah. And that one, me and my friend, I remember leaving the cinema and we just both looked at each other and were like, we need a drink now.
I think that's the one they released on Valentine's Day, which is always to me.
That bit I respected. I wonder who got away with that. He was like, hey, honey, so got an idea for a movie. Remember how you liked Samuel L. Jackson?
Yeah.
In Coach Carter. Well, yeah, that guy. And remember Look Who's Talking? Do you remember the guy who did the voice in that? The baby. So, yeah, they've done a movie together. What's it called? I'm not sure. Something about living free or something.
Why did they go... is that the one that went Chernobyl in the end as well? The fifth one?
What an absolute... Anyway, that was so disappointing because, yes, they end up in like Chernobyl or something. And they just made no effort with the bad guy. They were like, why is he bad? What does he want? And they were like, I don't know, it's terrorism. Yeah. Like they just...
Lazy.
Like there was nothing in the... I honestly... Here's the thing, like, firstly, Red, the movie Red, is a better Die Hard sequel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's more Die Hard than anything after Die Hard with a Vengeance, and Die Hard 2 is a 5 out of 10 movie anyway, but Die Hard with a Vengeance is so good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's such a great film. It's such a great sequel, and it's a little bit long. That's why I didn't put it on the list. There are a few moments like when he's in the tunnel with all the water on top of a lorry. And somehow he escapes, and it happens to be while Samuel L. Jackson, who he hasn't seen for 3 hours, is driving past. Like, there's some really weird writing things in there. But it's still John McClane, and I think that Red was a really, really good movie about a retired policeman.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they need to do with Die Hard, is basically they need to kill John McClane. Like, Hans Gruber's son needs to come back and torture him for 2 hours, and that's the movie.
I'd watch it.
And that's why 3's good, right? Is because it's like Hans Gruber's brother, isn't it? And that's
Hans Gruber's
Simon.
brother. Yeah.
That's what we had Sean Walsh on, didn't we? And he was like, did his really good impression.
Sean had a thing with me where he said, he was like, you know those things, he's like those lines from a movie that you just hear in your head in life.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, and his one was from Die Hard. It was somebody had fun. Yeah. That one.
Yeah. It's a good line.
Do you know what's
That's
funny?
Exactly what.
Sean and I were talking about doing a podcast where we get a guest on to talk about movie sequels that they make up.
Sorry.
And then about a month after he did this, and I was like, oh well, I guess we're not doing that podcast anymore.
Oh, sorry, we stole your podcast.
No. You were smarter first.
Well, there's people before us doing slightly different things, so we're even slower than everyone else.
Yeah. There's guys called the Sequelizers, and they take bad sequels and rewrite them.
It's good.
So make them good.
That's smart. But that's what I would. Yeah, disappointing. Yeah, definitely Die Hard 5 and Die Hard 4 and Die Hard 4. But I went with a girl I really like, so it's
there you
fine.
go.
That makes it better.
You know.
So what is your worst ever sequel?
So it's a tie. My worst ever sequel is either Predator 2 or Battle Royale 2. And it was close with Jurassic Park 2. That was very close to being on the list.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park 2 is horrific, but Predator 2 and Battle Royale 2 are so stupid.
Yeah.
That like I hate anything where they're like, okay, same but in a city. Like it's just like, you know, where Predator 2, it's like, and then the aliens in the big city, like it's trying to get a big break on Broadway. Yeah. Predator, lost in New York. And then Battle Royale 2 is just, it's just it's basically what that is someone getting hold of franchise rights and fundamentally not understanding what may. Battle Royale 2 is depressing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how did you like? And also with Battle Royale 2, you know what Hunger Games and Squid Games are. You know, are so. I don't know whether. I think Battle Royale is a better version of both of those things. I don't know whether the two wouldn't exist without Battle Royale. Most people seem to not know Battle Royale.
I've seen Battle Royale, but I haven't seen Battle Royale 2, and I probably won't ever get based on your review.
We saw it at uni, Rich. There was I think there's someone in your class. They did a screening of it, and they made us watch it, and then they wanted our opinion afterwards. And all I can remember of it is at the end they joined the Taliban. That's the end of it, isn't it?
I don't remember that at all.
So I hated that film so much that I haven't seen the ending. I've just Wikipedia plot.
There you go.
Looked it up when you asked me, because I was like, I'm fairly certain I just turned this off. and like Battle Royale is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
It's the first. I don't know if it's the first movie of its kind. It's the first that I saw where it's like, how do we deal with this generation of brats? And like this idea that they peg them against each other in a sort of Lord of the Flies with guns.
Yeah. It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's just so good. It's such a good idea. And it's aged really well. It still looks brilliant. And the gore, like the reality when that first kid dies, I don't want to say how to anyone who hasn't seen it, but like when that first kid's thing happens where they all have to wear a neck brace, and if they go outside a perimeter, they are killed. But the perimeter changes every 24 hours. And like that is a narrative is so unbelievably brilliant.
It's a really strong premise. It's like describe your film in one, like a sentence, and you put that in it. It's just like, okay, that's a good pitch. I'll buy that.
And then it's like Battle Royale 2. Some people in Hollywood bought the rights, did a load of blow, and then just went, just like kids just killing each other, I guess. And that was it. And then someone went, yeah, cool, here's $18 million. And they just went and made this absolute jizz hole of a film.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
They did try and stick that political message at the end. I can't remember what they were trying to say, but it is awful.
And Predator 2 as well.
Well, this is the one I watched recently.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah. What were they? That shooting scene with the police. It's just what?
It's mad.
What is this?
Right?
What is that film?
Why is there voodoo in it and stuff?
Why? Yeah. And it's such a, because Predator is like pretty close to a perfect movie.
It's very
It's great. Yeah.
I mean, name one bad scene. I mean, obviously, look. It's very easy to go, oh, there's loads of things wrong with it now, but that's just life. Like, and pop culture ages badly. It will.
Yeah.
If society progresses, pop culture's it's a finite moment captured of that time, and everything ages badly. But and so there are moments in Predator 2 where you're like, all right, guys, okay, all right, and also, oh, why is there a woman in the film? Okay, fine, and like, but it's so good. Every character, and that's what John McTiernan, who directed Predator and Die Hard. What he was so good at was recognizing that every character, no matter how small, needs a little moment where the viewer connects with the character's personality. Yeah. So like in Die Hard, there's that little scene with the chocolate bars, you know, or the little scene where the SWAT team guy pricks his arm on the rose thorn, and like there's all these tiny moments where every character gets to have a little bit, and that's what Predator has as well.
Yeah, Predator's quotable as well, like. I ain't got time to bleed is still...
Yeah. And also the you ghosting us, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are back in the world. You give our position one more time, I'll bleed you. Real quiet. Leave your head. Like, it's so good.
Get to the chopper.
And when they high five, what's the matter? CIA got your bushing too many pencils.
So good.
I think it's one of Schwarzenegger's best. That and Jingle All the Way.
Oh, nice.
Come on.
Schwarzenegger he's due a serious dramatic role that makes him an Oscar contender, right? He must be looking for that after Creed.
I think that's his real life.
I feel like he's tried.
That's like.
Has he done one?
He did one. I want to say pretty recently called, I think it was Maggie, when his daughter's a zombie or something. That was quite serious. Oh no, I know that's another one. And there's another one where it has Scoot McNairy in it, and I can't remember the title of the film, so excuse me, but his family died on an airplane for some reason, and no, but it's a serious plot.
It's just weird. For some reason.
I can't remember. What was it to do with? It wasn't 9/11. It was something. Anyway, he went after the person. Yeah, that doesn't make it sound too serious in my head. It's a more serious role than Jingle in a way.
Both of those sounded like good comedies. You're like, the one where his daughter's a zombie? It's like, no, that sounds hilarious. That sounds hilarious. What, he's dropping her off at uni? Like, no, that's a great idea for a comedy. Really picking her up from
Don't
meeting her.
eat anyone.
like meeting her boyfriend for the. I know guys your age are just after one thing. Like, it's a great idea for a film.
Ron Howard, you've done it again. Oh man, right. Predator 2. Why did they cast Danny Glover?
Yeah.
I have no idea, but what I've gathered from watching the Hallmark Christmas movies is that Danny Glover is not picky.
Yeah. That's
I just
true.
don't buy that he can
my
take him
assumption, my guess is 200 grand cash.
on. Yeah. He swears a lot in this as well. And Bill Paxton goes next level crazy in this film.
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
Like,
Also, is Bill Paxton in Predator 2 after Aliens? It must. It is, right?
Yeah.
It is.
1990.
yeah, when was Aliens?
Right? 85.
He's the only person to be killed by a Terminator, an Alien, and a Predator, which
So cool.
which is
that is so
That is
cool.
to
pretty
have on
cool.
your resume is pretty cool. But I feel like they've just every other word is a swear word in Predator 2. Like Danny Glover just
Yeah, it's a classic movie where they didn't have any ideas.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically just Danny Glover shouting a lot in it.
Yeah.
It's also 1990, but it feels very 80s because it's got Gary Busey in it.
Yeah. Also,
It's probably
by the
shot
way,
in the 80s, though, isn't it?
Aliens is absolutely a contender for best sequel of all time.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a completely tonally. I mean, and that's what James Cameron is
He's a genius.
so. I mean, yeah, with Terminator. I don't like Terminator 2 as purely because the tonal shift for me I find really difficult. Like Terminator 1 is such a dark kind of steampunk movie, and then Terminator 2 is like a buddy comedy. It doesn't make it a bad film, but I think James Cameron marries that line better in Aliens.
Okay, yeah.
He still keeps it really dark. He keeps it really dark, and it's nowhere near as art house as the first one, but it's like he keeps that claustrophobia, he keeps that aesthetic, and Terminator 2 is. When I say I don't like it, I mean it's obviously a brilliant film, but like it's for me, I wanted it to be darker.
Yeah.
You know.
I get it.
I can see that. Yeah, it's a completely different type of film.
Have you seen The Package on Netflix?
No.
It's a really good teen comedy about. I don't want to give away the ending, but some teens that they have an accident and they have to deliver this package. But there's a great bit while they're airlifting him out of on a helicopter to the hospital, and he gives the thumbs up, and someone goes, "He's reverse Terminatoring," which is so good.
I've seen the trailer of that. Yeah.
Brilliant. I think there's one thing. I watched Predator 2, and I think there's one thing that saves Predator 2 from being my worst ever Predator film, and that is Alien versus Predator 2, which is quite honestly the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, that is the worst.
Is Alien versus Predator a good film? It can't be.
No.
And have you seen Predators, the most recent one?
No,
with
I haven't.
Keegan-Michael Key.
There's Predators, which is the Rodriguez produced one with Adam Brody, or Adrian Brody, not Adam Brody.
Adrian Brody.
Sorry, that's the government OC. And then there was The Predator, which was the Shane Black one, which has got massacred by the studio, and you can just tell it's awful.
Do you know what's so upsetting? Is the first 10 minutes of The Predator is brilliant.
Yeah.
The first 10 minutes is a really good setup of these crazy people on a bus who are they're all going to a movie, like a crazy house, and they're all vets or something. Yeah. And one of them isn't crazy, but he's been stitched up by the government. And I was like, oh, that's a setup right there. And then the rest of the film was just like someone pissing on my face while I was asleep. It was horrible.
It's bad. It's really bad.
But anyway, here's the thing. The Predator franchises, it's like Prince made Purple Rain, and then he made Prince made some really good albums, but then he made so many bad albums, it made me question whether the good ones were a fluke.
Yeah.
And the Predator franchise has so many bad movies. I sometimes just think that the original one was just a fever dream I had.
Yeah.
The first one's the only good one,
Yes.
though, right? There's not been a good one since.
I have a question for you because I haven't seen it. Is Prometheus good?
I'm going to call Prometheus interesting.
You both just, for the people listening, you both just moved your heads to the side at the same time in sync, like.
No, it's the answer you're looking for. There are people.
Good is a strong word.
There are people that like it, but no, it's the problem is it's not an alien film, and there's some really dumb bits in it. It looks pretty. I'm going to say that.
But it's Ridley Scott, right?
Yeah, it is Ridley Scott. Basically, there's a mapping expert who gets lost. There's a bug expert that just puts his hand in a bug's mouth. There's a ship falling over at one point, straight over, and instead of running left or right, the person just carries on running straight forwards, so it lands on them. It's full of stupid decisions like that.
It's all shoehorned into something that doesn't quite fit as well, isn't it? The whole, it's like, we will make this work somehow. It just doesn't fit together.
But it's on Disney Plus now. There you go.
Yeah, okay. I do love. The thing is, on a Sunday morning, I love a crap film.
Oh, there you go.
Like I watched that. Who's the guy from Olympus Has Fallen?
Yeah, Gerard Butler.
Scottish guy.
Gerard Butler.
He's got a movie on Amazon Prime at the minute that just it's like an end of the world film, and he's trying to get his family out.
Greenland.
And I've absolutely loved it.
It's just surprisingly good, Josh. That is why.
It's really, really, really a good Sunday film. Sunday film is a genre.
Yeah.
Me and my housemate were talking about it. It's like a mood. Another one, Cloverfield Lane.
Great film.
Surprisingly good sequel. Maybe, in fact, easily better than Cloverfield, in my opinion.
I've got a question for you that you might be able to string that into something then. What has been the most surprising sequel to you've watched?
Oh God, that's a good one. I would maybe say, I mean, thinking out loud, something like Cloverfield Lane. That was, and I just think John Goodman is just like out of this world good in that. Father of the Bride 2.
Love Steve Martin.
Brilliant sequel.
Yeah.
And I love it. And Martin Short is just.
Oh. I haven't watched the new series yet because I've been saving it. But
oh, you haven't? Only Murders?
Yeah, I heard it's good.
Mate, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Because you think Father of the Bride 2, how can they do this again? Because it's a plot that's like that should only work for one film, and then you every good sequel we talk about, they introduce good characters like the Martin Short character again. Is he in the first one or is he just in the second one?
He's the
wedding planner, isn't he?
Planner in the first.
Oh,
one.
he is in the first. Yeah. Anyway, I love him.
And they bring him in to help prep the house for the baby in the second film.
Of course they do.
And it's really good. And Steve Martin is at his sort of dramatic comic in that period where he was like stepping away from comedy, but still the elements. He's when I see Steve Martin move, he's like, it's like ballet.
Yeah.
The way that he's so physically funny. And there are little flourishes of it in that film that I would love to. That like I did think in the late 90s, I was like, they must do Grandfather of the Bride soon. It has to happen.
That would have been good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and like watching his daughter, and this isn't the film that I would pick as my sequel, but like watching his daughter go through what he went through when she met her husband.
Yeah.
That would have been a great movie.
There must have been some point.
I'm sure
talks.
Yeah, it must have come up. And what else is a surprising sequel? Austin Powers' Spy Who Shagged Me is an interesting sequel because Dr. Evil is hilarious and Austin Powers is not.
Yeah.
In that movie, that's like Dr. Evil's movie.
Yeah, he steals that.
Yeah.
And it's surprising because Mike Myers I don't think is very good at sequels. And Shrek 2, Wayne's World 2, and Austin Powers 3. I think Austin Powers is one of the most perfect comedies ever made.
It is superb.
I just think it's so, and it's what happens with that period of cinema is that they were just because Wayne's World and Austin Powers were successful low budget films. They went, here's loads of money, and I think Mike Myers is like, he's like a punk rock filmmaker. And the woman who directed Wayne's World, is it Penny Marshall? She directed the Decline of Western Civilization, which were these 3 music documentaries in the 80s. And then the third one was in the 90s. And the Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, which follows... So at the top of the documentary, you have all the successful bands of the era. So you have Kiss, Ozzy Osbourne, Aerosmith, all those people talking about what it is to be a rock star. And then there's all the people in LA clamoring to make it. And it's one of the funniest. It's real Spinal Tap. It's incredible. And Mike Myers saw that and was like, she's the one who she'll understand Wayne's World. And I apparently he had a bit of a struggle to get her on board, because Lorne Michaels was like, we have comedy directors, mate. and you know, and Mike was like, all right, fine, well let's just not make it. And I think eventually they reneged, and she made this brilliant film. And I feel like when they start throwing money at a film after it's been successful, like it kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, it can do. And it's hard to do a comedy sequel, right? It's like, you know, nobody laughs at the same joke twice. Yeah. You know, you've got to completely reinvent it again. Otherwise it just ends up being like Coming to America too.
That's all.
I didn't hate that. I didn't hate it.
Really? I just prefer to watch the first one. It's all the same jokes.
Yeah, that's
and
very
better.
true. Yeah, that's very true. Trading Places as well is better than Coming to America, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a great film.
You both agree? Okay,
so.
That's good.
I like Dan Aykroyd. He makes me laugh.
Definitely. Trading Places is great.
Trading Places is close to a perfect film, apart from that weird train scene at the end, where it just becomes an SNL skit, where Dan Aykroyd's... And I love that Dan Aykroyd's blacked up in that film. And he's like, do you remember me? And he's like all Rasta. And it's meant to be obvious that he's in blackface, right? Yeah. But that it just becomes this weird, because then what's John Belushi's brother?
It's James Belushi, isn't it?
James Belushi?
Belushi,
Jim Belushi, and he's in it, and it all gets a bit weird, and there's a monkey suit, and the film kind of falls apart a little bit there, but it's such a good film.
That was the 90s, but they did that with Blues Brothers 2000 when they stopped having dancing zombies as well. That's a terrible sequel, if we're going.
That is what were they thinking? I mean, I'm worried about... I think Ghostbusters Afterlife will be good.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, brilliant. Just stunned silence.
I mean, I've heard bad reviews, but I think it's going to be good too. I've seen just picking the trailer to pieces.
By the time this comes out, we'll know,
good.
and the screenings,
the
press screenings are happening literally in an hour.
I bought my tickets a few days ago.
Yeah.
And I text Sean Walsh and was like, buddy, like let's and the whole time since the first teaser, he's been like, I'm going on my own. I'm going.
Oh, really?
I have to go on my. And I texted him being like, this is your last chance, and he was like, yeah, no, I'm going on my own. And like, I do respect that. I respect that decision, because it's such a big movie for so many people.
It's a big movie, personal movie, yeah.
Yeah, and I would do the same. I'd want to go on my own as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's a really big movie for Sean. He told us, talks about how his love of Ghostbusters so much. Like,
it's insane, yeah.
I did a tweet about 6 years ago that was like 10 tweets long, where I kind of explained what I thought the Ghostbusters 3 sequel would be, and I think I'm pretty close to to what it was. Yeah, I think I said something along the lines of the one thing I got wrong. I think my tweet was that it was like that Ghostbusters technology had become normal in households, so there was like vacuum cleaners that could catch ghosts and stuff like that. And then the Ghostbusters were like gatekeepers of the storage facility, and they were all old, and the storage facility broke, so they had to recruit some young people to capture all of the ghosts that they'd caught in the past that had escaped from, like, basically the hard drive was full. Exploded. Yeah. And then at the end, a ghost of Egon is obviously gonna help in some way.
Nice. Oh, I like that. That's really cool.
I hope that I'm right.
The ghost of Egon's gonna come and save the day.
It's one of those films that I'm trying not to get my hopes up for. I hope it's, because the first two are like pretty great, like nearly perfect. So, and if you can get another one like that, they're in for something special.
Yeah.
They're gonna turn it into it's going to be like Star Wars, isn't it? Where it's Slimer's High School, you know.
It makes money,
Slimer
doesn't
like
it?
at high school. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's just going to be the thing. They're just going to keep churning them out. So I think it's just nice to enjoy this brief moment where there's only going to be one.
Yeah.
Because before you know it, it's going to be like, you know, Janine's daughter has started and it's like it's going to be.
I don't know if you remembered, but when they did the Ghostbusters 2016 one, and people went crazy that it was women, they also announced that they were going to do a men's only one as well at the same point. That's never happened, and I think they had Channing Tatum was going to be in it because he was coming off the back of Jump Street, and they thought he could be able to carry it, but it never happened, which is quite a good thing. Let's talk dream sequel.
Okay.
What was your dream sequel?
Well, I was gonna say Ghostbusters 3, but it's happening. So
Yeah.
and I've gone with purely for comic reasons. I've gone with When Harry Met Sally.
Okay.
Because I just want to see them get divorced.
Brilliant.
I think that Rob Reiner would do it.
Yeah.
He's divorced. I think that this obviously the reason it should never ever happen is because they couldn't use Nora Ephron because she's dead, and I think that she was just such an unbelievably brilliant writer of like realistic romance. But I would love to see a film where, not necessarily. I'm saying divorced because it's funny, but what I mean is like I think there's another coming of age that happens when you're old.
Yeah.
And I think that I would really like to see, because that movie is so much about the kind of cockiness of youth and the hope of youth, and both of those things are dashed, and then they both go, oh my god, we're in our 30s, we're never going to find love, and they just become these cynical best friends who then fall in love with each other, and it's a really smart, clever, warm film, and it looks unbelievable, and the dialogue is out of this world. And the jokes are so good, and to me, it's like it's the Woody Allen film that Woody Allen wishes he made. I think, in a lot of ways, and they took so many of the tropes from Manhattan and Annie Hall and a lot of his kind of funnier romantic movies, and actually did it better than he does it. And even in the kind of the mise en scène of it and the way that they've shot it and the use of colors, it's like it leans so heavily on the rom-com. Like Nora Ephron said she said something like there's two types of problems in films. There's Christian problems and Jewish problems, and she was like, the Christian problem is I'm in love with this girl but I have to go to war. And it's a real problem. And the Jewish problem is I'm in love with this girl, but I'm so neurotic, and that's why we can't be together. And that's like kind of what every Woody Allen film is, especially the. Yeah, let's not go down that road. But and I think that I'd really like to see how Nora Ephron would have tackled. Being in your 70s or 60s and 70s, and like what love is then, and how you see your kids and how watching them fall in love, and then seeing the grandkids leave college and having that the generational gap of of not understanding these Gen Z kids as an old couple who were at that point when the original film came out so hip and cool, and and obviously like they would probably be quite well off because it seems like they both owned property in New York in the 80s. So, maybe they've lost their money in some way, or maybe it could be cool when Sally left Harry or something, and it's about them, right? And then they get back together. You can't break them up. It would ruin. It would break everyone's heart too much. But I think you could start the movie with them being broken up.
Yeah.
And then it could be such a good
back
role.
in love again.
Yeah, and realizing that, right? And realizing that love isn't. It's not a love is. There's many iterations of love, and that actually being old and comfortable, although it might not be exciting, which is where the movie ends as well. It ends with that really nice scene where they're like just talking about their wedding day, and they're like coconut with the cake with the sprinkles, and it's just so anodyne and dull, and that's where the film ends. But it's really not, and like that plus 40 years
Yeah.
would be so fun to see.
I don't think it's a film Hollywood made because they're so ageist. So, but I'd love to see an aged Meg Ryan
right?
and Billy Crystal. I think they're still both fantastic actors and very funny people. People forget that old people are hilarious. Like my nan in her 70s is my comedy hero.
Yeah.
She was hilarious.
And I think that they tried it, didn't they? There was a bit of time in the sort of early mid 2000s where they did like It's Complicated and Something's Got to Give, but they were so poorly executed. And I think that older as well, especially with like Only Murders in the Building is a really good example. Like that's two guys in their 70s trying to like connect with a girl in her late 20s. And there's all these really nice generational comparisons, and I think the Ghostbusters movie will probably do that. And I think that people are discovering that actually old people are funny, and it's not just about like that. What Woody Allen was doing was like, oh yeah, she's 20 and I'm 65, and you're like, buddy, no one, stop it, please. You're not doing your reputation any favors.
No,
by making another movie where a 65-year-old, the one with Larry David, I was like, this is just what is happening? But I think there's so much to do with that they could do with a realistic love story of especially someone as loved as Billy Crystal as well. Like, it would be amazing. And then maybe they can't afford. They've moved out, which means they've had to separate their assets, which means that he's in his 70s in a shitty apartment, and then she's dating some young toy boy who's like her yoga instructor or something, and maybe the yoga instructor is like her daughter's like husband's brother or something, and then the grandkids, like maybe he has to like maybe he's bought an apartment for his kids that one of the grandkids now lives in, so he has to go live with his 20-year-old grandson or something. There's so many ways you could write that.
I'd watch this.
I love this movie already.
Have you got any ideas for casting? Like,
I agree. And
for the yoga instructor, I did just think Channing Tatum. I know that's the person I mentioned, the Ghostbusters, but as well.
Well, I think that if it was so they're in their 70s, which means their kids would be in their 40s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. So like maybe like a Kristen Wiig for the daughter.
Nice.
And then the son could be a Channing Tatum. I'd go a bit more subtle and less hunky with the son.
I meant for the yoga instructor.
Oh, okay. I would go, the yoga instructor is Channing Tatum. The yoga instructor is, Tim Robbins in High Fidelity, that kind of thing.
Okay, I'm with you now.
Yeah.
That fucking Ian guy.
Yeah. What fucking Ian guy? That bit where Tim Robbins is having dinner and he slams the phone down and takes a deep meditative breath and then smiles and starts eating is a slice of just comic genius.
I love that film.
And then you'd have the grandkids. I don't want to say Timothée Chalamet because he gets too much work.
Yeah.
And I'm yet to see him in a role where I'm like, wow. Not that he's not going to get there, but he's very much DiCaprio Basketball Diaries Titanic right now. Yeah, and he hasn't done his Catch Me If You Can yet.
Not yet. Maybe June. Maybe June's going to be that.
June 2, not June 1. He's okay.
The second one.
If they do a Dune sequel, it should be called July, surely, right? With a D, right?
Perfect. We know with two sequels.
That's a good one.
That's so good, man.
I just really want to watch this movie now. It gets sometimes doing this podcast, I get annoyed that the movies we talk about aren't actually real.
Yeah, but that's what makes it so much fun. Yeah, I would do that, and I would have. They'd have to have like. You couldn't complicate the plot. Maybe they've got one kid, and that one kid has got 3 kids. Because it would be weird if there was loads of sons and daughters, but more grandkids is sort of maybe comically funnier. Because Bruno Kirby is dead, right? So who is Billy Crystal's best friend in Mohammed?
And Carrie Fisher's
dead.
Oh wow! So there's a nice thing there. Like maybe they had kids, and they're close to those kids. That's a really great. Yeah. Maybe that Harry and Sally's kids. They're super tight with Bruno Kirby and Carrie Fisher's kids. You could put Rob Delaney in there. He'd be very good. You could put maybe Bill Murray as his like best friend. Now that they're old.
Yeah.
Yes.
That would be good.
Steve Martin. I got very close to saying, by the way, and I hate to throw in another curveball at the end of the show, but like a sequel I always wanted to see was Dirty Rotten Scoundrels 2.
Oh, nice.
Because I think
not the shitty remake.
Absolutely
no,
not.
forget that happened.
I think Dirty Rotten Scoundrels is maybe the most underrated comedy of all time. Like no one ever talks about that film. It's never in a top 50 list, and it's a perfect comedy.
I remember watching that when I was probably about 8 or 9 with my parents, and absolutely loving it. Like, just loving it so much.
I think that these two con men, the $5 con man and the millionaire con man, competing and to drive each other out of town so the other one can have the territory. I think in 2021, the idea that obviously there's the internet and they're having their comeuppance and they have to figure out one final heist from jail.
Yeah.
You know, it would be really fun.
So you would still have Steve Martin and Michael Caine?
100%. Yeah. I'd throw in, what's that French? Is he French? No. Who's the guy that's in Gigolo? He plays the butler in Mr. Deeds.
Oh, John Toretto.
Yeah.
Toretto.
Yeah, he's in there somewhere. Maybe he's like the bent prison warden or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Nice.
Yeah. I do have to go back to when Harry left Sally, or what we're going to call it. Would you?
No, when Sally left Harry.
When Sally left Harry. Would you, because they will have to have nods to the first one, would you redo the orgasm scene in some way?
I think maybe what would be funny, I would have Billy Crystal, and he's the only property that he can stay in is the flat that they bought or had that's sort of now a bit of a dive in it. Now it's in a hipster part of New York, and he has to go live with his grandson, and he hears his grandson having sex, and he hears the woman, and he's like, dude, she was faking. Yeah, that's what I do. Here and they come out, and he's like, and the grandson's like, sorry you had to hear that, and he's like, no, that was fake. That was fake.
Those were Josh Weller's Unequal Sequels. I really enjoyed that, Dave.
He's a very funny man.
He's very funny and very passionate about movies. And just kind of a lovely
geeky
guest. Yeah, very geeky, bless him. But just a lovely guest to have on.
Yeah,
you know,
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. I really enjoyed it as well. And didn't get worried that we had a few technical issues. We managed to solve those. You know, he wasn't flustered by that at all.
We stayed cool.
Yeah, we all stayed cool. It was all frosty. But yeah, he was great.
It was really, like we're pros at this podcasting business now.
I know, right?
God, we're getting good. You know,
we've suddenly worked out what to do.
That is true. He's a massive Star Trek fan, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, like lots of our guests are actually. Lots of Star Trek fans out there, and I agree with him. I like Star Trek Beyond. I think it's a great film.
Underrated in my book.
Definitely.
Possibly my favourite of the three.
Yeah. Oh, really?
That trilogy.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's definitely better than Into the Darkness.
Definitely. Yeah.
I really enjoyed the third one, and everything he spoke about. I agree. Really, he's very funny. Have you watched his things about U2 recently and Taken, by the way?
No, I haven't, but I need to catch that. I've seen
lots
the video.
Lots of U2 fans are very angry.
Well, I'm not a U2 fan.
I am, and I think it's hilarious.
U2 fan, so
it's hilarious. He makes a fair point. Who would travel around Europe following U2?
Who would do that?
Who would do that? A young girl, apparently.
Nah.
The worst sequel. Predator 2.
It's bad. Yeah, it's bad. Yeah. I don't think it's the worst film with Predator in it, personally. But, you know, it is bad. It is bad. Don't get me wrong.
I agree with you. And possibly my favourite ever Dream sequel. His ideas for...
When Harry Met Sally, yeah.
But when Sally...
When Sally left Harry,
I
think that's a great idea. That is a cracker. That is an absolute cracker. That sometimes we land on people's ideas for movies and we're like, oh, I hope that gets made. Like, you could see it. You could see it. And I think, oh, if only I was a movie guy. You know, if only I could make movies, I would definitely
I see the
be into
marketing
that.
behind it. It's very clever.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a brilliant name as well, so hopefully that gets made in the future. Rich, do you want to promote ourselves now, or?
Absolutely. So you can find us on all the social media business at Unequal Sequel on Twitter and at Unequal Sequel on Instagram. You can also send us a cheeky little email, unequalsequel@hotmail.com. Yeah, and also you can kind of give us little likes and subscriptions and 5 stars. You can rate us on Spotify now. You can rate us on Apple still. You know, subscribe to us and you'll never miss an episode. Yeah, and thanks for all the people that have been doing that and all the people that have been listening and all the nice support that we've been getting. It's lovely. Thank you.
It is very nice. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah,
carry on listening to the episodes. We've got a lovely back catalogue now. So if you're new to this one and this is the first one you listen, go back and listen to the other,
there's a few.
Bunch.
Yeah.
I can't even bother to count.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And we'll be back next week. So I've got nothing else to say. Rich, you got nothing else to say?
No, that's it for me.
That's it from me. So it's goodbye from me. Bye-bye. And a goodbye from him.
Bye!
See you next week. Bye.